What's going on, everybody? It's Frito here for your Overwatch. The patch just went live. They took the experimental card and moved it almost in entirety. Not everything went through, and we'll check out what did and didn't. The Ashe Nerf went through, where the explosion damage is now going down to 50. However, since the burn, I think, is the main brunt of the damage, this doesn't change too much, though. On a few interactions, in some duels, I think you will feel the difference. On some break points, especially when a target is like hiding around a corner, you might not be able to finish them off when you otherwise would, but generally I don't think that's too big of a nerf to Ashe, and she'll still be very good. Baptiste has not been performing too well, in my opinion, and getting his ultimate cost decreased by 15% is sort of a cupcake buff to me. I don't think this is very good. However, it may be a really big deal with the Orisa buff, because of course, where Orisa goes, so does the bunker style supports. So if she's really good, then maybe you might just play Baptiste anyway, regardless of his individual power level. So that's something that we'll definitely monitor. I'm gonna skip over the McCree one just for a second. The scary one here is the Terminator Orisa revamp, I guess. They have put this back into live, where the base armor is 250, so she'll have 450 health, and the projectile speed goes up significantly. I mean, this is a huge increase from 90 to 120, meaning that you are definitely going to be able to laser things down, and that matters at all ranges. More at longer ranges, but at all ranges, you're going to be really more lethal. So this will be an interesting change. I think Orisa was in an underrated category because, well, she didn't have the stats to easily fit into a team comp, but I think she had the potential, if you played around it, for it to do work. So I think this is a little bit too hasty on the buff, but this will definitely give her the stats to be more forgiving, especially up against some of the rush playstyles. This 50 extra health, I think, is really going to help her be able to peel back and survive in those spots. And on top of that, if you're playing around a Baptiste, maybe then you can get that to work, especially on some of the maps where it's particularly good. Now, the McCree change, the rolling mid-air flying Superman McCree did not go to live. I think that's kind of unfortunate because I thought it was so cool, but all that is just out the window for now anyway. Maybe something that they'll put on the shelf and try again at another time. But what did go through is the distance on the roll and the flashbang duration. So quite a big buff. I mean, the distance alone was a pretty big buff, because up against so many of the distance control characters, or characters that have an increased value when they close the distance, particularly rush characters like Reaper or any of the tanks really that get on you as McCree, just being able to get a bit farther away from them means McCree is going to have a stronger matchup against Reaper, particularly, who I thought was like dominating the meta at some tiers of play. It kind of goes up and down depending. Even since my tier list video, I've grown stronger on Reaper due to how reliable his playstyle is, but this McCree buff will probably put that in check a bit, since he's going to be able to stay outside of the effective Hellfire shotgun's range, and I think that's probably a healthy thing for the game. I know people think that the hit scans are too strong in the game, but then rush feels too strong when it's executed well, so the playstyles are definitely combating, and it sort of depends on what your team is capable of running. Now, the final change here is to Roadhog. So they state that this is so that he can more reliably chain hook combo smaller hitbox targets, and that is true, but I think the change that you'll see more often is that the targets he already could one-shot combo, he does more reliably still. Like, it's even more forgiving, if that makes sense. The skinnier hitboxes of the likes of Sombra and Ana, I still feel are a little bit unreliable in terms of how well they connect. More often than never one-shot comboing them if you aim it perfectly, but I think what you're going to notice even more so is that Hog's just more reliable against everything else. Now, the next series of changes are only on the PTR, which means they'll take a bit before they get implemented into the live game, but the major change is that profanity filters are now in place, at least more detailed ones. It used to just be on or off. Now you can customize it for each type of chat. So if you don't mind seeing swear words from your friends but don't want to see it from gen chat or match chat, you can set it to that, where the friendly version, which is what I'm going to keep it on all the time, tries to censor at the max degree, whereas mature is a little bit less than that, and then unfiltered just lets everything through. It's absolute chaos. I do not suggest, but you can try that if you are brave enough. As well, alongside this, they state that they're going to be increasing the penalties for inappropriate language in Overwatch. This goes in sync with them also being harsher on levers in competitive play recently, so in both fronts, they're trying to crack down on poor behavior. This includes longer periods of silence, longer suspensions, and permanently banning players after fewer repeated offenses. So just ramping up the severity of all of these things that they do. And the last major change onto the PTR is the elevator rework. This is something that players since the launch of the game have been asking for, to add consistency to the ability to get high ground instead of let RNG dictate it all, where now the platforms will no longer just go up and down and you have to hope that you sync in time with it to be able to catch a ride. Now they will wait at the bottom until a player uses them and go up. This makes them so much more reliable and is actually a big buff to a lot of characters that are otherwise immobile and need high ground advantage in order to be usable. Characters like Soldier, Orisa, Zenyatta can really make use of these platforms now in a much more meaningful way, where if they're stuck on the low ground against high ground control, they feel useless, whereas being able to instantly get it, or reliably get it anyway, makes them a lot more viable. This is a great route to go and something that I wish that they would use more when they're tuning and tweaking things. I think it actually does affect a lot more than you might think. But that's everything for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please be sure to leave it a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and be sure to hit the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos go live. Link to the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. We'll see you guys next time.